weekend, we witnessed a union between the Inevantu, Jovia Mutesi, and the Chabazinga of Busoga. Now, that particular marriage sparked widespread debate onto the relevance of traditional institutions in today's contemporary world. And that's the topic for today. My name is Douglas Drake. I am your host for tonight's conversation. Now, joining me in this very interesting conversation is a panel of distinguished gentlemen and ladies who will help us unpack this conversation. But before we go ahead and let them dive into the conversation, I'll just quickly let them go ahead and introduce themselves, then we shall begin the conversation. I'll just begin from my right immediate hand here. Please go ahead and say hello and introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone watching. This is Nabukwasi Rebecca, Kampala International University, and I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you very much. We're very happy to have you here, Rebecca, once again. We're looking forward to picking your insights in tonight's conversation. The gentleman from Makerere University, we're very happy to have you and very looking forward to having a wonderful conversation with you.
Yeah, thank you, Douglas. I'm Ashiraf from Makerere University. I should also add that I hail from where the recently royal wedding took place.
Definitely.
I'm from Mayuge. Yeah.
So we'll be looking forward to, since you hail from there, and you're immediate to the king, you give us the snippet of what exactly transpired. Right next to the gentleman in a green suit, there is a lady you've seen on the show before. I don't want to say her name because I'll spoil it. So let her go ahead and listen.
Oh, thank you, Drake. I'm so happy to be here once again. Hello, all our viewers. My name is Osutaru Namirembe Gloria from Kyambogo University, and so passionate about disability inclusion.
Yeah. All right. So let us just, before we delve into the nitty-gritties of the conversation, I'll begin. I think they usually say ladies first, then the gentleman come in after. But for this show, I'll begin with the gentleman, since he's the only one on the show. Obviously, I'm a gentleman, but
it's okay.
but he's the panelist today. So, Mr. Mugalula Ashiraf, before we delve into the nitty-gritties of the conversation, you witnessed the union between the Inevantu and the Chabazinga, which was a very it was well received by the people of Busoga, but the nation at large. So just give us a quick overview of this particular marriage in relation to tonight's conversation today.
Yeah, thank you, Douglas. One, I will begin from the vantage point of the wedding. Why did it take place? As the kingdom lost the previous king, the late Wacom Lodge, that was 2008, I was doing my primary 7. And then in 2011, we had to get the installation of the current king, His Royal Highness, the Governor. But for the kingdom to be full, the king must have married. In other words, the king should have a wife.
Yeah.
So for all that time, up to 18th of this month, the kingdom was incomplete in terms of the Inevantu and the Insevantu, because the king should not work alone in terms of delivering it to the constituencies where the kingdom is moving place.
Yeah.
So that's why you see that not only the kingdom of the Basoga, or not only the Basoga that are hailed from the Basoga kingdom, that is Tanivian, but the whole country was looking about. That's why you saw it that all people came in wholeheartedly, contribute it, because there was something which is missing.
Yeah.
You saw some of the different institutions in the country calling that since the queen is in the house, they are looking forward to working with her. For example, overcome the problems of the early teenage pregnancies in the kingdom. Others are calling her to start initiatives that are going to promote the girl child. So you find out that there have been a very big gap that has been missing in the kingdom.
Yeah.
And when the 18th day came, people are having that unity is going to prosper in the kingdom, development is going to start up, and people only looking about positivity. They are not looking about any negative consequence. So they are seeing the queen as a paradigm shift. They are seeing the queen actually as a daring to the problems that have hit the Busoga maybe for the last close of the decade of the interim government. So that's what I can say.
All right. Clearly, from your submission, I get the relevance of these traditional institutions in the contemporary day-to-day, just from that example or the incident that happened on the 18th day of this month over the weekend. That the anticipation of development, the anticipation of advocacy for the girl child, among others, are things that we look into seeing in relating it to the relevance of these traditional institutions today. But quickly, let me get to my sisters on the panel right now. I'll begin with you, Gloria, and I'll come back to Rebecca. What came into your mind when you went ahead and saw this particular conversation relating to the relevance of traditional institutions in today's contemporary world?
Thank you so much, Drake. I think I got excited, and in relation to what the pre-current speaker just said, it's really something big that happened. The whole world was able to evidently see what was going on. To me, it's just like a house without a mother. There'll always be something that is missing out. And the kingdom of Busoga now having a queen, I feel it's something so big because there's a lot she's going to do, just like in relation to the girl child, in relation to the women, because these are people that are public figures. There's a lot they have to do. And during the function, I saw there's a lot of unity because I'm seeing the other elderly queens from different kingdoms that were around, meaning it is something big that they were crowning, and they are pledging support to this new queen that has come into the entire kingdom, and whatsoever she's going to do, and they have full support for her. There is union. I see there is cooperation. I'm saying there is joy, just like the pre-current speaker said. We only see positivity.
Yeah.
And my prayer is that the energy carries on, and this institution is birthing a lot, because it's not only stopping at the Buganda region, but it comes across. We have friends that come from that side. There is regional integration. There's a lot we get to learn about cultures, their norms, the things they do, how we uphold our morals. So it is something beautiful that I would love to appreciate, because we get to learn each other, and we're able to do things that can able to help other people get to maybe interrelate with the things they find in the different regions they go to. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Shall get to that. Rebecca, I'll just ask you the same question that I've asked Gloria. What came into your mind when you received the topic talking about the relevance of traditional institutions in today's contemporary world?
Okay, thank you so much. When I received the topic about the relevancy of the traditional institutions, what came into my mind is the traditional institutions itself, and then how is it working hand in hand with the other institution that is with us. And then that is exactly what came in my mind. I was like, well, I have this topic, and then we have this, right?
Yeah.
And then I looked at how the traditional institution is living with the modern institutions. And then I looked at how is the world moving on, the contemporary world moving on with the traditional institutions. And then when I came here, we looked at the king, Gabla, king's wedding. And then you see that the king's wedding really had or brought something in existence. Like when you look at how the king was looked at before marriage and how he is being looked at right now, there is some respect that he has gained compared to how he has been looking at. And then people are looking at the other kings that are not yet reached the milestone, because I'm seeing Twitter flooding up with the king that we all know that he's not yet married, and then they're like, well, you have to reach this milestone so people to be respecting you. In our tradition, but since we are looking at the tradition institutions, in our tradition, to be a man, you have to be circumcised. Well, and
So
also,
which tradition is that? Bugisu?
yes, in our tradition, to be a man, you have to be circumcised. And immediately you are circumcised, they have prepared a wife for you, right? So exactly, having a wife is already, putting you in a place where you have to be a man. Like if you don't have a wife, if you're not circumcised, you're not yet a man, right? So if you look at the traditional institutions and how we are living with them, and the other thing that came in my mind is how they are grooming the traditional institutions, how the traditional institutions are grooming us, how people are giving more respect to the traditions compared to the other things.
All right. Awesome. So that is a conversation we shall look into detail when we get into this conversation. But now let's just begin the conversation now. Let's start unpacking. And I'll get back to you, Ashraf. Historically, as a continent, as a country, we were greatly governed by kingdoms and chiefdoms. For people in the central region here are aware that they have a kingdom. In Busoga, you have a kingdom. In Acholi, there is a chiefdom, among others. Now, that is how we have survived and we have been. Now, my question to you is in line of the historical evolution. And the question to you then is, look at what are the historical evolutions of traditional institutions and their roles? And secondly, how have these traditional institutions adapted to the changing society today?
Douglas, when you look about the historical evolutions, you need to answer the question. Recently, we were at Makerere, where where Apollo Makuya was giving a keynote when we are remembering the late OHT where Apollo, Oweka Nsibirwa, for his role he contributed to the education system, because remember it's Nsibirwa that gave our land to where Makerere right now is. So they asked him a question, that what are we going to do for the traditional institutions to overcome the current predicaments that we are entangled with? His answer was one. The current challenges we have are not new. These challenges were there. And the kingdoms you are talking about were also there. So, and they were the very kingdoms that did what? That were solving these problems. But getting that before even we get into encounter with the 1889 issues of the 1817 and then 1887 with the Bahrain issues, and then the coming of the colonialist official in Africa, and then also in the global south. The problem is that it is the problem of also the modernization and then the issues of the tradition. Those two binaries, or those dualism that we face in the societies. Traditions were there, kingdoms were there, from different areas. And the conception is that they were doing service to the people, to their so-called the constituencies. They had the constituents and they were doing service to them. But now when we come into the encounter with the colonialism, you find out that things start changing. We find out that where power was lying in all corners of society, when the colonialists come, the colonialists had to centralize power into the different individuals. Now that is a very big departure to how institutions used to work in societies. Now where they were not in existence, you find out that they had to manufacture and put them there because they wanted to, through their system of indirect rule. Now looking about such evolutions, because we are championing with how and who and where, who was supporting with it. So remember those days we had the Semeika Kunglu, we had the Omeka Makabalega. Others are blamed for selling their kingdoms. Others are blamed for resisting change. Others saying that by not working with the colonialists, you were sending out development, because these people had come with development, because when they came with, we have come with civilization, the Holy Spirit, Holy Mother, and then Mary, and then at the end of the day, that was conquering. But now, societies, when the colonialists now come, for the context like in Uganda in 1962, when we get the independence, the colonialists go away, and then we say, okay, you are free, you are free to do whatever you want. It was not a predicament, just shortly, 1966 now, you see, what Apollo Milton Obote did, up to 1993 when the NRM government does what? Brings back the traditional institutions in existence. But this is how they have been coping up. And up to date, you see that there are traditional institutions that in the context where we are speaking right now in the central part of Uganda, they have shown that they are resilient, and they are not only in the name of tradition, but they are still championing the livelihood of their own people in societies and where they are doing that. And they have thrived. And they are actually, for example, I'll not be able, but I'll be able to sing out Buganda Kingdom. Me, I'm a Msoga, my tribe, I hail from Msoga. But in this country, Buganda Kingdom has given us a leaf on what we are supposed to do in the contemporary changing circumstances, in the different predicaments that the societies are facing. You can look about an example, Douglas and colleagues. When we had the COVID-19 outbreak, the minister was almost paying people to go for vaccination. But the day the kingdom organized a vaccination camp at Mengo, even roads were closed without being given. But the minister was crying. You people go for vaccination, do this. They were threatening people with ABCD. The moment Oweka Peter Maiga said, we have a vaccination camp. Even myself, actually, I went and got my second dose there at Mengo. That is how we are looking about the circumstances, the power that these institutions wield in the contemporary and in the previous. So these were there because we look at them, or they are looked at as people-based, pro-people-based institutions. Because the people who go there, these are the rural people. You can look about an example, what happened on the wedding, still back. No one was told to go on the road. No one was told to go on the road. So I was asking my mother, how comes you left your business and you went on the road to cheer out your girl? She said, she's our girl, she's our lady, so now we have got a mama. But now that's how we look about, people look about it. Institutions where you don't need to be requested to do something,
but do it willingly.
But this is emotion. This is love for the culture. And out of being emotional and love for your culture, you end up contributing. You saw people contributing without being told. I've seen my mom was telling me that she contributed the money. I said, you poor you, where did you get the money to contribute? Yet companies are contributing. She said, but I have to do something to my kingdom. But when you tell her that contribute to so and so, Douglas wants to go and learn for a political seat, we need a poster, she will tell you, me I'm poor. But this time she contributed and I was getting amazed. So that is how powerful these institutions, how they embrace this system of Ubuntu, how it comes out, and we need to live in such societies.
Powerful submission there. It's true that when it comes to the aspect of our traditions and how people hold it so dearly, I can really resonate and relate to the aspect that people want to genuinely and wholeheartedly contribute to the well-being of the kingdom. And I think I was having discussions with some of my colleagues, and it was about the aspect of contributing for marriage. And I raised an argument that why should we ask people to contribute for your marriage, and yet people are already facing tough financial situations. And my colleague he said, you see, we as Africans, we want to feel, we want to be part of your story. We want to be together with you in that point in time. So the aspect of togetherness that these institutions instill in people, I think it's very relevant today. And I also relate to the example you gave of COVID-19, that when the Kabaka called people to go for the vaccination, we saw how people went in huge numbers to go and get the vaccine. That just shows you the influence and power of these institutions. But also you bring a very wonderful context to the historical evolution, which is powerful. Let me get to Gloria. Gloria, social impact. Just now relating to the conversation, what I've been talking about now. Now, tell us how exactly these traditional institutions have a social impact in our contemporary society, and how do they contribute to community cohesion or address modern social challenges?
Thanks so much, Drake. I would start with an addition compliment on what Asha just said. When I was trying to look through what these traditional institutions are doing, I got to realize they're playing a role in terms of giving advice to the governance. When it comes to the participatory role, flashback of COVID-19 vaccination, and also they play a developmental role. And this also gives me a flashback back then in the university, and it still carries on, that each time there is a Kabaka run, oh my God, it is something, I don't know, just like something small. You may think that something has sparked up. You see students going in large numbers to participate. So it's trying to show me the love that these students have for their tradition. And it is, I now come back to the question you've asked me, the social impact it is creating is it's trying to bring unity. You get to realize through these events that are being organized by the traditions, we get to meet different people. You might have taken long, maybe getting to relate with some of the big people in the region. Maybe let me say the elders. But then this is a time where you are going to have time to relate with them. I think some of the activities that have always been organized are those what Her Royal Highness the Queen in the Buganda Kingdom. I don't know, I've forgotten how it is called, where the girls gather. The
It is a
girls gather,
sakati.
yeah, like
Sakati.
sakati. I'm seeing that social aspect, that the girls get to learn morals during that time. They are taught how to do domestic work.
Yeah.
This is something great that I've not seen in our area. So it is a spark up to the other traditions, that there should be such insights that we, the people that have grown up in this contemporary world, we're able to learn some of the things we might have missed out. I'm just from Arua recently, and I got to realize there is a big difference. Someone that has grown up from Kampala is way different from the person that has grown up in the village. There is domestic work, for instance, going to fetch water in
The well.
the well. And I'm telling my siblings, this is really hard for me. So I get to realize when these events are organized, maybe you're calling the people that are living within town to spend off now, like we're entering the
Festive
festival
season.
season.
Yeah.
You go spend time with the children in the village, and then have those small topics where you gather the boy child, the girl child, and get to share what are the challenges you're facing and how best you can resonate and get solutions to it. I think it is something so great that can contribute to the moral upbringing, and then also our education. We at times we say the colonialists came and there's a lot they did, but then we should use it in a positive way to build on what we have. We are able to see that even those that were not able to go to school, but they have insights, they're always telling us of the folk stories that are still contributing to how we are being brought up. And then this is something so big that can also influence when it comes to governance. How are you giving back to the people?
Yeah.
How are you relating with them? How are you helping them out to overcome some of the challenges they are facing? You know, it is, we face challenges, but it's a good approach to give someone an insight of how they can face it on themselves. There should be a sustenance, not an instance of where someone will always have to come and run back to you. So I feel the traditional institution is doing so great in influencing the social aspect in terms of moral, our daily lifestyle, the way we dress, the way we address our elders,
Yeah.
the way we even relate with the people that we are living with.
All right,
Yes.
awesome. Rebecca, just from the argument that Gloria raises, that these traditional institutions are focusing so much in trying to bring up people in a moral way. Let's still antagonize the aspect of the social impact. I'll give that example that she brought out, the foundation of the Nabagerika. That that word. You see, it focuses on the moral bringing of the girl child. But also when usually when they're celebrating the Kawaka's birthday, they organize the Kawaka's run, of which every year the Kawaka's run is tailored towards solving a particular social challenge.
Mm.
The other year it is sickle cells. The other year
Cancer.
cancer. This year is malaria, among others. Now, I want you to go into detail to help us identify the challenges that these institutions help identify and try to solve in trying to see that, in trying to maintain relevance and also be very effective in today's contemporary world.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Looking at the social impact and the point she raised about that it's Sakate, and then the morals, and then you come and ask about the social impact and the challenges, right?
Yeah.
If I'm to get that right. What did you ask me?
Yeah, the question is, I wanted to focus more on the things that these traditional institutions identify as challenges in the society and how they try to solve them. For example, the Kawakas run, is usually on an annual basis identify a challenge they want to address, let's say cancer, and then organize the run and try to address it from the proceeds from the run.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So when you look at the things that the tradition institutions have looked at, and they have come up with ideas on how to curb them compared to how the modern world is working on them, because when you look at the president or the government or the civil society is trying to curb certain stuff, a certain thing about something for like years and years and years. Let's say they are working on roads and then they are not going to work on them for years and years and years. The traditions are going to come, let's say the Buganda kingdom, and then they work on this thing in just one event. Why? Because these people are so attached with their kingdoms, right? These people are so attached with their kingdoms. Let's say the point he brought up when he said the COVID call, when the prime minister came and she was like, you people go and vaccinate. People were just paying mute, right? They were just mute. But when the king spoke, they heard, right? So it gives the traditions a chance to curb the things, because let's say traditions are living in the same country where these things are happening. They're not going to be like, I am a king, or I am a king, I'm not going to be walking on those roads, I'm not going to have malaria, I'm not going to have cancer. This is my country and these are my people, right? Look at Buganda. Actually, they have this when you come in Buganda, they kind of make you a brother, right? They can actually give you a name for the Baganda. It's the same thing with the West, it's the same thing with the East. If you're a brother, then you have that connection with them, right? So if the king comes out and he's like, well, we are going to run and this is what we are going to run for.
Yeah.
People are going to come in numbers and do that. People are going to come in numbers and do that. So when you look at how the traditions are curbing this problem, it's really, really nice.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Let me get back to you, my brother, Ashraf. The ladies have discussed into great detail the aspect to do with the social impact, how these traditional institutions are influencing and trying to solve these social issues that we are facing today through the foundation of the Queen of Buganda. We have seen the Kawakas run, and now with the Inevantu being brought into Busoga, I'm aware she's being mentored by the Queen of Buganda, which she will also implement a number of initiatives in Busoga that will solve a number of challenges as well. Now, the question is on the aspect of adaptability. With the ever-changing world, the younger generation oftentimes despise these traditional institutions, or even do not know how they operate. So my line of questioning is going to be in line of adaptability, and I'm going to just request you to quickly help us understand and discuss the adaptability of traditional institutions. How? You're going to focus on how they respond to technological advancements, globalization, and other contemporary influences.
Douglas, as you talk about the young people, of course, everyone knows that over 80% of this generation in this country, we are younger people. And there is a saying which has been going across the globe. There is nothing for the youth without
The youth.
So there is nothing you do for the younger people without the younger people themselves being involved, because the policies you develop, they are not going to impact you. They are going to impact the younger people. So looking about, of course, we are living in a global village. And for the first time in the centuries, you see the Sustainable Development Goals. They spark on the coherence of inclusion of the traditional institutions if the SDGs are supposed to be to be addressed. So the world now has moved away from looking about the so-called traditional institutions as tradition themselves vis-a-vis modernization, but they are looking about them that we need to co-opt them, to work with them, along with them, not as parallel, but we need to work along with them, to incorporate them if we need to solve any society problem. So there is no way the traditional institutions are going to move and be able to implement or achieve whatever they want, Douglas, when they are sidelining with modern technology. So there is this saying that, of course, there are debates in Africa and the global south. Some people call it the agrarian south. That we need to go to the indigenous knowledge. That we need to go to what the Ngugu wa Thiong'o has done. We need to go to what the Songo Lawino, what Okot Publicator has said. No, let us use the traditional language. But that's not the way to go. Being that, for example, in the context of decolonization, it will reveal that we should not speak English, we should not put on things made from the West, we should not do anything, we should do ours. But remember, no man is an island. No one knows tomorrow. So you can't exist without the rest of the world. So the issue is, we can look into the things that do not damage our culture, and we cooperate and embrace them. For example, if this watch doesn't do anything with my culture, there is no reason why I shouldn't put it on. If these cameras do not stop me from speaking my Rusoga, I don't see the reason why I should not use the cameras to achieve certain objective. And this is where I'm going to. You look about an example. How should we have, they only invited around 2,000, 3,000 guests to the wedding. How many people participated in this wedding, countrywide and global-wide? Would it have been possible for it to be in UCU, for Rebecca to be in Kyambogo, for my brother to be, actually he was here, he was here on duty, but he was watching and following live whatever was happening in Bugembe and then at the Igenge Paris. Would it have happened if we didn't embrace what is in this studio? It wouldn't have happened. Now this is where we are taking place. You get an example of the BBS, the Buganda, their television. They have been having the CBS and then Emmanuel, so those radio stations. The same thing with Baba FM in Uganda, the same thing with the Baba TV, the same thing with all other kingdoms. They have embraced one of the most important means of communication, that you cannot talk about development, you cannot talk about rights, you cannot talk about society problems if you do not have a means of what? Communication. And this is where we are. You cannot talk about communication right now without talking about technology. In Busoga, there is a religious group movement called the Njirinkalu. Previously they said you're not supposed to have a phone. But you don't have a phone. There's a man who used to make for me clothes. So whenever you want to see him, you need to go and stay there, you wait for him to come back. So when I see you, man, how do you make business? I need to call you whether you're on the workshop, I come. If you're not there, I wait for the time. Now, the day he decided to buy a phone, they dropped him from the movement. But their religious leader, their team leader, has a factory which makes bread. He has a car, he has a van, he has everything, but he stops other people from owning phones. So you cannot own a car, you cannot own a van, you cannot own machines that are helping you to manufacture bread. And you said that the phone is bad, has Illuminati. So that is where the problem is. So we are dealing with the conundrum of the problematic of seeing that how do we cross the line, but at the same time, we are embracing with our cultural values. So what happened, like we shall still get an example from the wedding. People came, people are doing whatever they are doing. People expect that see, this is a traditional wedding, that maybe it's going to be done in the banana plantations, maybe it's going to be done in the coffee plantations. No. The tradition means that we can do things that are modern, but when we are not running away from the cultural norms, roots. So, for example, we should be able to embrace what was taking place. Yes, let us have the rings being brought. Let us have the church, everything, but let us embrace what the norms say. For example, before the king in Busoga, before they take the girl, before they took Inebantu to Bugembe, you saw in the morning at 4 a.m. they took what they call Kasuze Mutia. We call it Kasuze Katia. So they went with a jerrycan of paraffin. They took this lighting candle. They took some things. So as a way, that's actually the time the queen saw the sister to the king. That was the only time at night. So if those things are supposed to be done, you cannot stop people from moving around such circumstances. And those are the same things that we are looking about today. There is no problem. It's not problematic for the kingdoms to own radio stations, to own TVs, to own institutions of e-learning, to own maybe, like for example, like the land boards. This should not be seen as fighting the central government where the power of the center is coming from. It is just a way of incorporating what others are supposed to do, and we are doing it because they are also accountable to their constituents where they are looking about. Actually, they spend more time with the people than the ministers who stay here in Kampala.
Definitely. Wonderful submission in regards to adaptability, that with the dawn of technology, we ought to embrace it. We are seeing the traditional institutions, such as Buganda, who own Bukede, they own BBS, among other television and communication channels, which is an aspect of embracement of technology, but also help demystify information to the local community, which is similar with Busoga, and I think other kingdoms as well should do the same. But you highlight an example of, we have those norms in our communities, in our societies, that are somewhat backward and a barrier for people to move forward. Like, we are held in a situation, some people are progressing and they know the essence of being in this global village today, but some people want to hold other people behind. That gentleman or that cult in Busoga, the head is doing well and then the subjects are suffering. I think that's bad, and that's something we need to work upon. So let me get to you, to you, Gloria. The question still is in line of adaptability. Technology is with us, and that's something we ought to embrace. And I think most traditional institutions ought to embrace that and actually take the charge in doing so. So what is your say when it comes to adaptability as regards the same?
Oh, it is really interesting, Drake. And when I got to hear all the submission that Asha was talking about, to me it's heartbreaking for someone to have a group of people and misleading them, and yet in the real essence they're trying to move on with what the world is doing right now. Yeah, it is true. We have these norms as the traditions, and if surely what the contemporary world has brought unto us can't do anything, can't do harm to the traditions, then we should carry on with what is happening. Because now in this, when we talk about the century we are in now, the world, the other countries are now actually talking about the AIs. And you get to realize before the AIs came in, we had what we're using right now, these social handles, these are some of the things that I think way back some people didn't want to use. And you get realized right now it is now something that is so important. We're having the e-world where people are doing business. Just imagine in COVID, if you were this person that was still rigid, you're having your items, but you still want to go to the market physically, which was prohibited, then it was going to make things hard. I think COVID also gave us an insight as the traditional institutions that we had to embrace the contemporary world in some of these aspects. And mostly here, what we're talking about is the technology. You would only, maybe the person that would help you do this would be the border guy. Maybe you have to give him a call, tell him this is the customer, this is their location, and this is all through this gadget, the smartphone or the phone, that you're able to communicate and reach out to the person that you're supposed to reach out to. So adopting the contemporary world aspects of technology is something really good, because I'm also thinking if it was not because of this, then we that do not come from Busoga, we could not know what was going on. It was just going to be like a surprise to us. But we've seen how people have embraced it, that even someone who is living in the diaspora in Soga is able to embrace, and they're able to chant what is going on. So it is something good that we have to embrace. There are always negativities with some of the things that come along, but we should look at the positive side of it, because through technology, you see on Instagram, people are trying, you see someone wear the culture wear and they're trying to show how beautiful it is. This can also attract the whites. They love so much things to do with regalia, and you're going to get likes. Maybe in the other way, they're going to call you for maybe some night of fashion show just to portray what you have, which is something beautiful. So I feel we should embrace it and use it in the rightful way, a way that is going to spread out the message to the other people out there that haven't gotten the essence as to why we have this now. Because now, if AI is to be brought, for instance, in Uganda right here, I think most of the cultures would first hold back. But you get to realize we need to know how these things operate. Because if you do not know, then you're going to be left out. And we believe with time, most of the things are going to be operated by the AI. But if you know how to operate it, then it would be so easy for you to be on the job market. So embracing these things is something beautiful, I would say, but just let's know how to use it the rightful way. And just like the traditional institutions playing a big fact, I would say they would play a big role in raising awareness to the people.
Okay.
Yes.
Rebecca, our country is largely a young one, and the submissions of my brother Ashraf clearly articulated that. But I would like to ask you a question still in line of we as young people, what we can do to help our traditional institutions adapt, but also what can we do as young people to love our culture. Could you possibly have recommendations that you think traditional institutions ought to adopt to come up with things that would make young people want to associate with these institutions and be part of?
Thank you so much. Before I answer your question, I want to first bring the discipline part. When you look at the tradition institutions, they have made an impact on the discipline of the people. When you say I come from where we come from and we don't do this, that is going to move with me. So when you look at the young generation and what they are doing, actually before I answer that one, I have to actually remind you that right now there is something that is being done when it comes to African traditions, because there is a time the Minister of Education saying now Luganda or any language that is supposed to be the country language, like the local languages, should be the language used, not actually taught, should be the language used to explain something. If you're explaining, let's say, biology or science, it's better you use the traditional language. And then you look at also the languages that are taught, like when I'm saying I'm learning Luganda, I am going to learn about the things that we are not actually doing right now. Because when you look at when you look at the subject Uganda itself, they teach you what the names Mukasa came from, how people were drumming, why is the king called this, the names of the king, why are we doing this. So a child from a lower education grows up knowing their culture, even if they are not seeing it, right? So when they start seeing when this child becomes a youth, when this child becomes a youth, already has the discipline, already has the knowledge about the culture, what are they going to do? This is where the point where my sister comes in and tells us this: we have technology, and then let us use the technology. If I know about my culture, why don't I go and wear in my Lubugo and then try to tell people about my culture, right? We can create awareness about what everything is happening. I love what my sisters in South Africa are doing. Like, everyone knows about the Zulu and how they teach their children about virginity. Like, they even give them certificates. Everyone knows that. They even dance the virgin dance. Like, you come and you dance the virgin dance. And then that is how people from different countries get to know about the culture. People didn't know about the Busoga culture, but the fact that he has done the wedding, people are going to know about it, right? And let us not copy the Western world as the youth. As the youth, let us not copy the Western world, because the Western world, when they are getting married, let's say the Americans that don't even have the culture, let me say, when they're getting married, they just get married but for us, we have a reason as to why we marry the way we get to wed the way we wed. We do the cultures the way we do them. And then me growing up in this modern world, I want to be like them, right? I want to be like them. I want to dress like them. I want to actually start adopting the gender stuff they are doing, because that is them. But if a child grows with discipline and understanding, then they are going to create awareness that, yes, the modern world is moving on, but let us move with the traditional world also. Let us not forget our background, This is what we do in our culture. Why am I wearing like this? No? Because in Uganda, you see Baganda people wearing the Chiganda way, but they are wearing the Randese way, which is not cool, right? Why am I not adopting my Gomasi? Why am I not wearing my Gomasi? So, as the youths, we have to love what we are doing. It is not bad for me to start wrapping myself with banana fibers and start dancing kadodi because people will see me ugly. This is exactly why I love the South Africans, because if it comes to their culture, they will undress, because for them, they don't even wear the tops. They just wear the skirts and then they start dancing.
Should we adopt such?
Yeah, we shouldn't be.
Because if you're looking at culture, there's certain customs or there's certain practices that I think wouldn't move with the society we are in today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why? Because the society feels it is ugly. When the whites came in Africa, they tried to show us that what we are doing is ugly and what they are doing is okay. How do you come and tell me marrying 5 wives is okay, but is not okay, but being gay is okay? It doesn't really count. So we shouldn't forget our cultures. They try to make us like what we are doing is ugly. Our cultures are ugly. And I love the South Africans because they will undress and they will dance the way they dance because they love their culture. But if you come and tell me wearing Lubugo is ugly, it's supposed to be for the dead people, then I'm going to throw it down and they start wearing your clothes, which is really, really not okay. So what I'm trying to tell the youths, or what I hope the youths would do right now, is not to be ashamed of their culture. They shouldn't be ashamed of their culture. Should adopt it, should teach other youths about it, and also the children should learn from schools about what different cultures do.
All right, awesome. Quite, should I say, yeah, your arguments are strong, and how you relate the aspect of polygamy and same-sex marriage. Okay, it's clear. It brings a clear-cut distinction as to what exactly you're trying to paint here. But personally, as an individual, there are certain practices in our traditions that are somewhat uncouth. The examples that we know, which maybe we shall discuss that when we come back from the break. But when we do come back, just quickly submit on that, and then I'll get to my brother, then maybe we can have the debate. Otherwise, it's been a very interesting half of the show. My name is Douglas Drake, and then just quickly going for a break. We'll be back shortly. See you.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media, or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Hey there, dear viewers. Welcome back from that short break. Right before we went into the break, we've been discussing the relevance of traditional institutions in today's contemporary world. And the panelists have so far done justice to tonight's conversation in discussing the historical evolution by my brother Ashiraf, and then we went ahead and we looked at the social impact these traditional institutions have in the contemporary society today, which was greatly discussed by my two sisters on the panel. Then we looked at the adaptability, and right now I just want to drive the conversation towards the aspect of governance and decision making, of which I'll now throw the ball into the court of my brother Ashraf. Governance and decision making. The question to you is, help us examine or discuss the governance structures within the traditional institutions, and how do these structures make decisions compared to the modern governance models?
Yeah, thank you, Douglas. Of course, the mode of operation of the traditional institutions is nonetheless different from the state-led institutions, what you call the modern institutions. Yeah. But in the pre-colonial time, that's in the pre-modern state, these institutions had everything. They had the parliament, they had the executive, and they had the judiciary at the same time. So they had all the three arms of government, what we call now in the current government. These arms existed. Yeah. For example, these institutions had the Luchiko, that's now the parliament. They had the tribunal where they would report cases of violation of other people's rights. Yeah. At the same time, they had the enforcement agencies around there, but the enforcement were not by police; they were by themselves, because it was a collective responsibility. That, for example, if Basoga, if the Basoga Luchiko has decided that all people should do community service, that's Bulungi Bwansi, they will not have a police. That if you don't do, Ashiraf, the police is going to police me at my home and say, you, Ashiraf, Rebecca, why are you not doing ABCD? Douglas, why are you not doing ABCD? Your friends are in the door and already they are cleaning the well, they are cleaning the hospital. No. It is out of the community consciousness themselves that you even run out of guilt and you do and join your fellow colleagues. Then the same thing existed. But moving hierarchically different is that these institutions, of course, when you look about, for example, the king, the king in most cases is not powerful. Is not all having all the powers in the consequences. So the king, for example, I'm not even doing from Zoga, but I can even just an example from the central here. You know the Nalinya in Uganda, where Nalinya, like this is the Kabaka, that the Kabaka cannot rule without the queen and without the mothers. The same thing even happens in Busoga, that the Kabaka, the king, the Chabazinga cannot make solo decisions as an individual. That's so because I'm the Chabazinga, I've said ABCD. No. There are different pots of power, or you can call them center of powers, surrounded the Chabazinga. One of them, the immediate power, is the queen. So in most cases that the Chabazinga will not make decisions, actually is not supposed to make decisions without consulting the Inebantu now. The same thing goes that the Chabazinga cannot make decisions without a thorough consultation from the mother, from the brothers, from the sisters, from the Busoga Luchiko, and the elders. The same thing goes with the 11 chiefdoms in Busoga, because Busoga, for example, we have 11 chiefdoms. Every chiefdom is headed by a head, a chief head. So that royal chief, those 11, the Chabazinga cannot make a final decision on something in the kingdom without the input of the 11 representatives from the 11 chiefdoms across Busoga kingdom. Now the difference which amalgamates from this side is that nowadays in the contemporary, they do not have executive powers. Remember, the role of the executive is to enforce what you have deliberated on the Ruchiko. Now that gives them a key departure between how are they operating in the contemporary modern state, now in the post-colonial world, where we are looking about the way we have the parliament, we have the executive, the current headed by the Right Honorable Anita Among, then we have the executive by President Museveni, the judiciary by Chief Justice Winfred Onodoro. Those three. The president would make proposals, and then the executive, the parliament is going to make laws. Now they are going to send them to the executive. The executive is going to make sure that the laws are going, they are going to be sent to the judiciary. The judiciary are going to, you the lawyers, you the judges of tomorrow are going to interpret them. If I'm wrong, then the executive is supposed to enforce. How do the executive enforce? The executive enforces through the arm of the police. When you break the law, the Uganda police is going to come and arrest you. They arraign you before the courts of law, and then the process begins from there. So what is lacking from this side? That's why the problem is, it's not about the law. That's why even you find out that the problem is saying that the traditional institutions, Douglas and colleagues, will not be able to have their aspirations are reached at if they are inactive. Because remember, we have the traditional leaders' code of conduct. Traditional leaders are not supposed to be political. They are non-partisan. But in the actual sense, you see that you can't even see this one. I cannot even get here to see it on the record. I didn't see any I didn't see any leader from the opposition attending. I didn't see any camera singling out any leader from the opposition at the wedding in Jinja. I don't know whether the wedding was for only NRM. I don't know whether because President Museveni was the chief sponsor, because you saw the king himself said that President Museveni was the chief sponsor of the wedding. That's how they owned it. But the problem is that the moment you don't allow the traditional institutions to have autonomy, to be able to decide on certain things, then the issues of prosperity, we are going to still asking, like the way the president was asking that he was passing when he was going to Bishop Hannington Memorial Day. And he was like asking for the last 30 years, we are still looking about this. So we need to look about the question of empowering. Let us empower. Now the question of federalism will come in. Because you cannot just empower them by giving them money, 60 million, as you said, that starting the presidents are directly given 60 million. If you give somebody the 60 million, but you are not allowing him to make decisions, how the 60 million is going to be made, it's nonetheless you have not given him the money. Yes.
Thank you. That has been a very quite elaborate submission as regards to governance and decision making, which clearly brings out that we have structures in place, but then also we have the political influence, which is a very grave and huge problem that these cultural institutions are facing. And I think because of the political influence, the politics of this country knows that these traditional institutions hold huge amounts of power, that they have to find ways of controlling them to get support and score political points. But we're not here to discuss politics today. Tonight we're just talking about the influence that these institutions have on our society today. So let me get to you, Rebecca. Cultural perspectives. My brother has greatly discussed the governance and decision making, and I would like to understand cultural preservation. What role does traditional institutions play in preserving culture? Because that is you in the first half of the show you alluded to loving the South African culture so much and then being very passionate. But then what role are the traditional institutions in Uganda playing in preserving the cultural norms, the cultural values, and cultural principles?
Thank you so much. Well, it is not far-fetched to see the roles that the cultures or the traditional institutions are doing for the cultures or to preserve the culture, right? Because my friend here talked about the TV stations that are being put in place. We were discussing about the runs, the Kabaka runs and everything. And then you look at these traditional institutions in Uganda, they are creating awareness. You see how the Chabazinga is coming on and talking about their culture. Like everyone coming from their culture is talking about their culture. You see when us Gishus, we reach that culture festival of Imbalu, and then we have the festival of Imbalu Festival, you will see that people will get to know about it. We shall preach the word about it.
Yeah.
Even when people are talking about the central or the Baganda kingdom, you see that people are talking about it, people are letting us know about their culture. Take for example, there is one time when the Katikiro wasn't really happy about how the Baganda are carrying out their Kwanjula. So he came onto the media and he was trying to highlight how the Kwanjula is supposed to be. It's supposed to be like this, you people are supposed to wear like this. It's not about the things. It's not about because people had gotten this norm of bringing a lot of things, putting everything around the compound so that people get to know that this man is now doing the Kwanjula. But then he came and he said, the only thing you have to take is the Kasuzekatia and then the Mutwalo Gwatata, he had to put people in their place, He has, so these are the roles that different traditions are doing, People are coming and then they're like, first in our culture we do this. First in our culture we eat this. First in our culture, if you come and you're not a welcome guest at our house if we don't give you this. These are the roles that are being done. These are the roles that are being put in place with different traditions.
Perfect. Perfect. I would like to pose the same question to my sister Gloria as regards to cultural preservation. Are these institutions, what are they doing different to see that they preserve culture, they preserve the norms, they preserve the principles that were there before us and they should be there even after us?
Yeah, well, with a compliment to what Rebecca just said, yeah, they are really playing a key role because we've seen even in the contemporary society that when something goes amiss amongst the people in the culture, they'll have to refer you to the elders. And I think this is something key that is trying to portray what the traditional institutions are doing. They have not fallen back on what they're supposed to do. There are things you just don't have to let the contemporary world handle it. It has to, I would say it has to remain inside the house, in the court of the people that understand the situations that we are lying in. I'll give an instance. There's a relative of mine that got into the issues about like a fight, and the husband alleged that maybe she stole. But then this issue was taken up to the police, and a statement was made, things. But then everything was zeroed to going to the elders and having these things sorted. So there is a lot that the tradition is doing when it comes to morals, conflict resolution. And then I've also gotten to know they play a key role in saying that just like in relation to embracing what the contemporary society has brought to us in line with education, I would even think that the Kabaka Rand would would be organized in cause of maybe raising money for the needy children in the region. And yeah, that is also a contribution towards the education sector, because I believe at this trend that we are in, no one would love to be ignorant or illiterate, because there's a lot that is going on in the world that you really have to be educated. And that's why they encourage us to always read. There is power in literacy that is being written down. And I feel this is also something that the tradition institutions are doing. Leaving aside the education bit of it, there's a lot of literature that they are writing down to promote the cultures and make us know, we the young people, yeah, we have to involve ourselves in getting to know what is taking place, and then we are also able to put it into practice, because that's when it will make meaning, and that's how we'll carry on the preservation and also see the relevancy come into the contemporary world.
Perfect, thank you. Ashraf, community engagement. You understand that in everything that we do, we need to have community voices. We need to have the aspect of inclusivity, that people ought to be engaged in everything that these cultural institutions engage in. So my question to you is, I would like you to explore how these traditional institutions engage with the wider community, but then too, what mechanisms have they employed to involve diverse voices in decision making?
Well, let me begin with that one of engagement. Of course, the question of engagement has been cross-cutting since we began the show.
Yeah.
One, talent. Talent development is very crucial if you want to touch base with the community.
Yeah.
And this has been cross. Of course, as I said in the beginning, Uganda has taken lead as a flower, and the other institutions have copied from the same. Because even us, the Nibusoga, we have the Masaza Cup. So where different chiefdoms come and compete for a trophy, and then that goes. Now in Uganda, they also have even the clan Ebika. They still have them. We have now the Kabaka's birthday run, a lot of things like those ones. So if you want to touch base with the community and you are part of the community, it do not take for them that you are ABCD, because there is this difference of development in the community and development for the community. So the community should be involved in the process. So whenever these traditional institutions come from above and then they touch base, they trickle down below through different activities like talent development, it also gives a sense of belonging to the subordinates, the so-called subjects, to the king and the queen, that they are part of the kingdom, they are part of the process, and they are identified. Because these people these talents that are identified do not only end in the Masaza Cup, the traditional lands. We have seen them people explore into the national teams. We have seen them explore into the international athletics activities, if they're doing athletics now through the issues of the Kabaka birthday run, among others. But then the other type of inclusiveness, me, I see your question and I see it from the question of the gender perspective lens of it. Because traditionally, I also waiting to see where we have a kingdom like what has happened in England, where Queen Elizabeth died, and then we saw Charles comes in as now the king. But now, of course, we are waiting to see. But of course, by society, that our societies are patriarchal in nature, but we are moved the level. So this one I can appreciate. We are seeing levels where you look about the different cabinets in the different kingdoms, either in Busoga or in Uganda, in Toro, Bunyoro, Bagwere, etc. You'll find out that the ministers, all of them are not men. They are not male. They are female ministers included there. Even you see, the recently concluded the royal wedding. You saw when you read about the organizing committee for the royal wedding, it's not only male. You saw the minister Justin Makasule. You saw the PS for Minister of Foreign Affairs, Vincent Weiss Obama. So it was a mixture of both male and female. There's something even comes to implementing activities. You saw even the medical camp prior to the wedding date. There was a medical camp, the royal wedding medical camp in Bugembe at Igenge, Paris. the people who were involved there, they were not only men. They were both men and women.
Yeah.
The same thing goes even to the scholarship that kingdoms are giving, originating from even Buganda, Busoga, across. They not only look about the boy child, but they also look about the girl, the girl child. And this speaks volumes of the directions that the predicaments and the paradigm shift that the kingdoms out have taken across that one.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's now just quickly, my question will go to you, Gloria. It's going to be in line of conflict resolution. Now, these institutions have been very vocal in resolving conflicts in communities. And that is something that is a role that they have played a great deal. We have seen in scenarios whereby they help sort out issues at a local level without people going into the formal judicial system. That takes quite a long time. So the question is in line of conflict resolution. What is your say? What role have these cultural institutions played, and how can we make them better if there's need to make it better?
Thank you, Douglas. It's interesting, and it's something important that I would call upon every traditional institution to uphold. When it comes to issues of conflict resolution, you get to realize there are matters that surely shouldn't be taken to the higher levels of informal, maybe jurisdictions where you're supposed to go through a lot of proceedings to see that this comes to an end, and where you even realize there are a lot of resources that have to be used, and yet there is this system that has been set to handle matters. For instance, I would say now in line with marriage, in line even with land, in line with issues to do with maybe violence, you're saying child neglect. But we've gotten to realize at some point, I wouldn't say that the systems, the traditional institutions have fallen, but maybe I would say maybe there has been a reluctancy, and maybe they are a little dormant on playing their roles when we come to all the leaders, because we have seen that these tradition institutions have it from even the grassroots levels, all have people that are in charge of certain aspects that have to be handled well. So these people have to understand what is going on in the people that they are living with, the people that they are leading, to know what is happening, what is being orchestrated, that they have to call upon these people into unity and handle these things. So I get to realize there are some instances where it is now beyond their mandate to hold some of these things. For instance, I was interacting with my uncle, and we've had a certain, I would refer to him as a brother in the clan. The first attempt of murder he did was a child. Then the second was another youth. So such a situation that felt it so hard that if we are to give this person a grace period, maybe of doing maybe a punishment that is light, of remaining within the community, then this is going to take on another trend. So the best thing they could do was now to refer to the police. So I would say the institution should awaken and have a flashback of all those things they would handle within their power and still continue doing it. Maybe where it has gone out of hand, then that would be better to refer it to to the higher informal powers to carry on with what should be done best.
All right.
Yes.
Rebecca, still on the aspect of conflict resolution, these traditional institutions have been very vocal. I must reiterate on that point in trying to resolve conflicts amicably without getting into the formal justice system that oftentimes than not takes quite a long time. So what is your say on the aspect of them playing a very tremendous role in resolving conflicts in our communities today?
Okay, thank you so much. What we need to know before we go there, what we need to know is how these traditions began, or where do we know these traditions from? You know, these are the things that, or these are the traditions that were feared. You know, someone could fear sitting in a panel of chiefs than going in court, you know. Someone, if let me say, Rebecca, you are summoned by the chiefs or the kings. They want to talk to you about something that you did. You would
Oh my
rather
God.
run away and maybe disappear rather than, someone coming and telling you they need you at the police
Sorry
station
to even
somewhere.
cut you short.
Yeah.
You ask, what did I do?
Yeah. Actually, even in homesteads, when mom and dad are seated somewhere, they're calling you, they want to talk to you. You would just want to run away. It's the same thing. Like, these traditions need to go back or to the fact that people to that image where people used to fear them. They right now the traditions that are there, they are not that so much feared. Like, youths couldn't fear them. Youths are
There
like,
is reluctance.
yeah, there is some reluctance. They will just talk about something and then they will leave. But if they could go back to that discipline that they used to put in the youths, or to, even if it's not, let me say, the kingdom or the chiefs, and they are supposed to implement the discipline into them, these people are going to have respect. Once you have respect to the elders, trust me, you will be disciplined. Will be disciplined. So it's not a matter of just running to the police or something. They have to create this image of, if I do this and I'm summoned by these people, I will never do it again. By the way, these chiefdoms these traditions had something of, you're going to be denounced. They're going to change your name. You're no longer ours. Go and look for your people. And then you will just roam around. And once you go like that, they will be like your caste. So you're not going to get the blessings. If you don't have the blessings of the elders, you're just going to be roaming around the world doing nothing. So if people can, if traditions can go back to this core or to this grassroots, and they try to train the youths or the young generation about the respect and the discipline, everything else will change. They will not actually, they will be moving hand in hand with the modern world, like the police and everything.
All right. So, Rebecca, we have reached towards the end of our show, but just before we conclude, I'd like to get your recommendations and your concluding remarks.
Okay, thank you so much. I recommend the youths to continue reading about the traditions and not forget their cultures, and and not to be shy about their culture. Let them stand still about and talk about what they want. I love this girl on TikTok who comes and talks about Africa. Like, does Africa have lions? And then she starts running, making videos when she's running, like the lion is chasing her. Let us love what we have. It is the gold that we have. It is the tradition is the gold that we still have, that the whites cannot take away from us. Like, they can just copy, but they will never take it away from us.
It's valuable. Yeah, it's something that we could possibly, it's priceless, but it's very valuable.
Yeah.
Gloria, your
Yes.
recommendations and your concluding remarks.
Yeah, thank you. I think this has been interesting, and my highlights as the recommendations for tonight would be, we should value the resources we have as the traditional institutions. These are things that, we have seen the people from the Western come to embrace. It has created income to the country, and we have seen them also falling in love with such, mostly the regalia. We should keep embracing what we have and make opportune utilization of what is on ground, and then uphold the dignity of what we still have. Go back to the first place where, like Rebecca had said, a place where there is respect for those institutions. This could help a lot build the upcoming generation in getting to understand how the traditions work and how best they could adopt to what is going on without trying to oppose or object what the contemporary world carries on now.
Thank you. Powerful. I'll conclude with you, my brother. Your recommendations and your concluding remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Douglas. We should not look about the traditional institutions as magic bullet in themselves. Traditional institutions are also working under the different challenges coming from financial, constraints, the nature of the people that are there, the nature of the subjects, the external and internal constraints. So as young people, we have a duty to be counted on what the traditional institutions are doing. We should not just expect to get from the cow that we are not grazing. So I shouldn't be a Msoga who is expecting to get all the blessings and to get all the darlings from the kingdom, but when I'm not doing anything towards that kingdom. So the kingdom at the same time, they should also know that they are working in the generation where most of us they are dealing with the young people. So they should find mechanisms of bringing young people on board. So you should not be able to tell the youth that they are not embracing the Basoga culture, or they are not embracing the culture, yet you do not have space for them. So it is through including them that you'll be able to hold them accountable on what they are not supposed to, on what they are doing, yet you ought them not to do it at a certain time. That's what I can understand.
Thank you. That has been very wonderful. And you've heard it there from the panelists or discussants tonight. And particularly my take home is that these institutions need to involve young people. They need to involve community members. It's only then when we involve people in these various, we involve the young people, involve community members, that we shall have meaningful engagement and we shall foster our various customs and traditions. Otherwise, tonight we've been discussing the relevance of our traditional institutions in today's contemporary world, and I've been joined by Ms. Osutaru Gloria from Kyambogo University. I've been joined by Mr. Mugalula Ashiraf from Makerere University. Last but not least, I've been joined by Miss Rebecca from Kampala International University. My name is Douglas Drake. I've been your host for tonight's conversation. See you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.